All right, let's jump right in. Today we're doing a deep dive into some of the greatest rap albums of all time.
Okay.
And we're going to be taking a look at the top10s.com and kind of what they think are the best rap albums.
Yeah, what's cool about this source is that it's all user generated.
Right.
So it's really coming from the people who are actually listening to this music day in and day out
Hmm.
and kind of debating amongst themselves like what rises to the top for them.
Exactly. And, it's going to be a wild ride. I mean, we're talking about Nas, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar,
Big Iggy.
Biggie, like all the big names are on here. But I think what's really interesting are these sections they have like newcomers and contenders
Right.
where, it's not just the established classics.
Yeah, because, what's a classic can mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
You know, for some, it's the lyrical skill. For others, it's the production. For others,
Yeah.
it's the impact the album had on the culture.
Absolutely. So, I guess where else to start? But like the age old debate, like what's the GOT?
Yeah. So, I mean, the top three here are Illmatic, the Marshall Mathers LP, and Ready to Die.
Okay.
And there are some pretty good arguments for all three.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Illmatic, the lyricism is just so tight on that album. Like he paints these vivid pictures with his words, and the flow is so smooth.
Yeah, it's effortless.
It's effortless. And, one user even said straight 100% real. Like there's that honesty in there.
Yeah.
That I think really connects with people.
And then the Marshall Mathers LP,
Yeah.
it's so raw and controversial and like it really pushed boundaries
Yeah.
with tracks like Stan, Criminal, The Way I Am,
Mhm.
really solidified Eminem as like a lyrical genius,
Yeah.
and just a provocateur. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
he wasn't afraid to say anything.
No, and you know what about Biggie, though?
Biggie's fans, I mean, they're calling Ready to Die the gospel of hip hop.
Right.
I mean, it captured that East Coast energy, fueled that rivalry with the West Coast.
Yeah.
And it just has
Yeah.
that rawness and authenticity that people connected with.
It's so real. You can just feel it.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that even though it's number 3 on this list,
Yeah.
a lot of people are arguing that it should be number 1.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it just shows you how much he still has that influence.
Yeah.
The storytelling, the delivery. I mean, it really had a huge impact on the genre.
Absolutely. So, okay, we've got the top 3 there, but what about the rounding out the top 5? We got Wu-Tang Clan's Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers and Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah, 36 Chamber. I mean, it's considered by many to be like the blueprint for group albums.
Yeah.
The way they wove all those different voices together.
Yeah.
The production techniques. It really launched multiple careers and continues to inspire artists today.
Yeah, and just those gritty soundscapes and that energy is incredible. Whereas To Pimp a Butterfly is something completely different.
Yeah.
It's so dense and layered, and it's got so much social commentary.
Yeah. Users are calling it a sublime piece of artwork, a movement.
Yeah.
It's really an album that makes you think.
It demands your attention,
Yeah, it does.
and it rewards you for it.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of makes you think, what makes an album the greatest? Is it the impact on the genre, or is it, how lyrically skilled it is, or the production or the stories it tells?
It's a really good question. I mean, each of these has strengths in different areas,
Yeah,
and, it really does make you think about what you value the most when you listen to music.
absolutely.
So, we talked about a lot of, great artists here, but what about, Dr. Dre? This guy has really had a huge impact on hip hop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, both The Chronic and 2001 really changed the game.
Yeah.
The Chronic is like that classic G-funk sound, those funk samples, the deep bass, the thin.
It's so smooth but hard at the same time.
It is. It's that West Coast sound. And it
Mhm.
was so different from what was going on the East Coast at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hear the influence everywhere, from Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style
Oh, yeah.
to so many other artists. I mean, it's that mix of laid-back grooves and hard-hitting beats and just makes you want to move.
One user said it's the definition of West Coast hip hop.
Yeah, and, The Chronic kind of laid the groundwork, but then 2001 took it even further, It's so consistent. I mean, it's over 20 tracks long,
Wow.
and people are saying that every single track is enjoyable.
Wow.
I mean, that's a testament to Dre's production and his ability to make hit after hit.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Despite its influence, 2001 is not in the top 10.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, it just shows you how many incredible albums
Yeah.
we're dealing with here.
It's incredible, and it also highlights another key element that I think a lot of these top albums share, and that's storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
Albums that transport you into another world, like Kendrick's Good Kid, M.A.A.D. City,
Right.
Tupac's Me Against the World, and of course Eminem's The Eminem Show.
Yeah. These aren't just songs or stories.
Yeah, they're full narratives and they draw you into their lives and you feel like you're experiencing everything with them.
Yeah, and they're so vivid, like you can picture Kendrick borrowing his mom's van. You can feel the vulnerability and Pac's struggles.
Yeah.
And Eminem is just so introspective on the Eminem Show.
Yeah, and one user even said that Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst from Good Kid M.A.A.D. City is a contender for the best rap song ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it really shows you how powerful Kendrick's storytelling is and how much it resonates with people.
Absolutely. So, we've talked about a lot of the heavy hitters, but what about the albums that might be flying under the radar a little bit?
Yeah, those newcomers and contenders
Yeah.
sections, I think those are really interesting because it shows you that this list is subjective
Hmm.
and there's always room for debate and for discovering new things.
Absolutely. Like UGK's Riding Dirty. I mean, they've been compared to Outkast for that Southern swagger and the lyricism, and they
Yeah.
brought a whole new flavor to the game.
Yeah.
And then there's Biggie's Life After Death, double album, Diamond Certified. I mean, that's insane. And fans are saying it should be ranked higher because of the hit singles and tracks like 10 Crack Commandments,
Yeah.
And then we can't forget about the albums that didn't quite crack the top 10, but are still amazing.
Right.
Like A Tribe Called Quest's The Low End Theory, which helped shape, the sound of positive rap and socially conscious rap,
Yeah.
and they were pioneers with using jazz samples and intricate wordplay.
Yeah. Mad Villainy by Mad Villain as well.
Oh, yes.
Like MF Doom's flow is so unique.
oh, yeah.
Especially paired with Madlib's production, they created something really special.
And who can forget Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full? I mean, Rakim is considered one of the greatest lyricists of all time. And, his rhyme schemes and his use of language on that album.
Yeah, he was a pioneer.
He was a pioneer, and it paved the way for so many artists who came after him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these, hidden gems, they really just remind us that there's so much to explore in hip-hop.
There is.
And it's all about, personal preference.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we consider a classic.
Exactly. And you know what I think the best part about this list is that it sparks debate.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, when you're talking about albums that are this influential,
Mm-hmm.
opinions are going to fly.
Oh, yeah. Like, one user was criticizing Eminem's dominance on the list,
Okay.
and they were arguing that Lil Wayne's The Carter Eye was better, and that Lil Wayne is the best rapper alive.
Wow.
I know, right? And then there's the constant debate of which Tupac album is better, All Eyes on Me or Me Against the World.
Right.
People dissect everything,
Yeah, we do.
from the lyrics to the impact.
Yeah.
And then there's the surprise that the Slim Shady LP, which is the album that kind of launched Eminem into stardom, is actually ranked lower than his other albums.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, all these disagreements, they just show that art is subjective.
Absolutely.
There's no right answer.
Yeah.
It's all about how the music connects with you as an individual.
Okay.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, we've explored some of the top contenders for the greatest rap album of all time, uncovered some hidden gems,
Yeah.
and talked about the criteria for greatness,
Yeah.
all while acknowledging that, debate is part of the fun.
Absolutely. Man, it's been quite the journey through some of these classic hip-hop albums.
It really has.
But what really stands out to me is just how much variety there is,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of styles and perspectives.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got everything from that, gritty East Coast sound to the laid-back West Coast vibes, from conscious rap that, really tackles social issues to albums that are more about the storytelling and the lyrical skill.
Yeah, it just shows you how much the genre has evolved,
Yeah.
and how it's able to reflect all these different experiences from different people and communities.
Absolutely. And speaking of, reflecting experiences, we can't forget about those albums that, really addressed social and political issues head on.
Well, like Public Enemies, it takes a nation of millions to hold us back.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
I mean, it's considered a landmark in political rap.
Yeah.
Chuck D's lyrics about racism, inequality, police brutality
Yeah.
really resonated with people and sparked some important conversations.
It wasn't just music.
No, it was a call to action,
Yeah, it really was.
challenging the status quo.
And users are praising, that raw energy and just how it makes you think critically about the world.
Yeah.
One user even said that it reminds them of a time when political rap was more about substance than controversy, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about how that role has changed over time.
Yeah, for sure. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about an album that's, often seen as a game changer when it comes to hip hop's, crossover appeal.
Run DMC's Raising Hell.
Yeah.
I mean, this album broke down so many barriers, introducing hip-hop to a wider audience, kind of blurring the lines between rock and rap.
It had this energy that you couldn't ignore, and it influenced everything from fashion to music videos.
Yeah, it really did. Users were highlighting that crossover appeal and how it helped shape the sound and style of a whole generation.
Yeah, it defined a moment for sure.
It did.
And speaking of, artists who defined a cultural moment, we can't overlook Kanye West.
Oh, yeah, one of the most, well,
Yeah.
polarizing figures in music today.
He's definitely a controversial figure, but there's no denying his impact on music. And two of his albums, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and The College Dropout,
Yeah.
both appear on this list, and they show like these different sides of his artistry.
Yeah. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Mhm.
It's like this maximalist masterpiece.
Yeah.
The production is incredible. The themes are ambitious. And you can tell Kanye is really pushing the boundaries.
Oh, yeah. Users describe it as the sonic journey, like an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's an album that you have to listen to from beginning to end, and there are just so many memorable moments.
The College Dropout, on the other hand, is more about the humor, the
Yeah.
relatable themes, and the soulful production. It's the album that introduced the world to Kanye's unique voice.
Right. And both of these albums show, Kanye's undeniable talent for creating music that's both thought-provoking and emotionally resonant,
Yeah.
even if his, public image sometimes overshadows the art itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a tricky thing, separating the art from the artist.
It's a complex issue for sure.
It is.
But, we talked about Dr. Dre and how he really helped shape the West Coast sound.
Right.
And we can't forget about, Snoop Dogg, who emerged from that scene and his debut album, Doggy Style.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
It's a G-Funk classic. It really captures that laid-back West Coast vibe.
Yeah, it's got that smooth production, those infectious grooves, and Snoop's flow is just so iconic.
It's so smooth.
Users are calling it the perfect album.
And you can definitely hear the influence of the Chronic in the sound,
Oh, yeah.
that blend of funk samples and mellow grooves. It's like, artists building upon each other's work.
Yeah, and contributing to that evolution of the genre.
Absolutely. So let's talk about another group that really pushed boundaries and challenged conventions.
The Beastie Boys.
Yes.
Their album, License to Ill, is often credited with bringing hip-hop to a mainstream white audience.
Right. They had that raw energy and humor that was just infectious, and they blended rock, punk rap in a way that was completely groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, users are praising its energy, its humor, and the impact it had on pop culture.
Right.
It really challenged genre boundaries and expanded the definition of what hip-hop could be.
But it's also important to acknowledge, that their success wasn't without controversy.
Right. Some people argue that their style appropriated Black culture
Yeah.
and contributed to the marginalization of Black artists within the genre.
And it brings up these important questions about, cultural exchange versus appropriation and how we navigate those complexities in a way that's thoughtful and respectful.
Yeah, it reminds us that the history of hip-hop is, it's not a simple story.
Yeah, it's complex.
It's got its challenges and its contradictions.
Absolutely. So, as we continue to explore these groundbreaking albums, it's important to remember that this list is just a starting point
Yeah,
for your own journey through hip-hop.
it is.
There's so much to discover, and each listener is going to have their own favorites based on, their own tastes and experiences.
Exactly what we've talked about so far is just a small fraction of all the incredible music that's out there.
Right.
It's like we've opened a door to this vast and vibrant world,
Yeah.
and now it's up to you to keep exploring.
So as we head into the final part of this deep dive,
Yeah.
what albums are you adding to your must-listen?
Yeah. What hidden gems are you excited to uncover?
And what personal connections are you making with this music?
Wow. It's amazing to think about all the albums we've discussed, from the raw poetry of Illmatic to those smooth grooves of Doggy Style, from Public Enemy's anthems to Run DMC's, groundbreaking energy.
Yeah, and we've really debated what makes an album great. Is it the lyrics, the production, the impact, or, just those powerful stories they tell? And through it all, it's become clear that, the greatest rap album of all time, it's really a matter of personal taste.
Yeah, it's about those albums that really speak to you on a deeper level, the ones that move you, inspire you, and, maybe even change how you see the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into these iconic albums, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Yeah, a little food for thought.
If you could only pick one album from this list to listen to for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Oh, wow.
And why?
That's a tough one.
It is, right? I mean, each album has something so unique to offer.
Yeah, you got to think about what you value most in music.
Yeah.
You know, do you care more about complex lyrics or groundbreaking production or those deep emotional stories? Or maybe it's about, a specific cultural moment.
Yeah, maybe it's an album that, takes you back to a certain time in your life,
Yeah.
or one that, really challenges your perspective and makes you see things in a new way.
So take some time to revisit those albums we talked about and, think about what makes them special for you. Explore the ones that you're curious about and let your own musical journey unfold.
Yeah, because the world of hip hop, it's always growing and changing. There's always something new to discover. And the real beauty is finding those albums that, speak to your soul.
Exactly. So keep listening, keep those minds open, and keep the conversation going.
And until next time, keep diving deep into the music that moves you.